The latest. We move on now to the Middle East. And US airstrikes on Yemen's Ras Issa fuel ports have killed at least 74 people and wounded 126, according to local state-run media. This marks one of the deadliest attacks since the US began striking the Iran-backed group in March. The Pentagon said the goal was to weaken the Houthis' fuel supplies, which fund their operations. The US launched this campaign after repeated Houthi missile and drone attacks on Red Sea shipping and in the Gulf of Aden. These attacks mostly targeted ships linked to Israel following the Gaza conflict. Meanwhile, Iran has condemned US airstrikes on Yemen's Ras Issa fuel ports, calling them barbaric. The Houthi rebels, backed by Tehran, blamed the US for the attack. Iranian foreign military spokesperson Ismail Baqai called the strike a blatant violation of the UN Charter and an aggressive crime. Along with that, Palestinian militant group Hamas has denounced overnight US strikes that killed potentially dozens of people, calling it blatant aggression. Although the Houthis paused their assaults during a brief Gaza ceasefire, they warned that they would resume if fighting restarted. The US Central Command hasn't confirmed casualty figures, but says strikes will continue unless Houthi actions stop. In March, similar US raids reportedly killed over 50 people. President Trump's administration shows no sign of easing its largest Middle East operation since taking office. Well, joining us to discuss these developments is Jordan Cope, a Middle East affairs expert who is joining us from Germany. Jordan, thank you ever so much for being here with us. These US strikes, which we know have continued and have been almost daily, escalating, and this potentially could be the largest civilian casualty number that we've seen since the US started striking. What do you think the sort of thought process is behind the Pentagon in these strikes, targeting specifically this fuel port?
Well, first, thank you for having me. And before we talk about this attack, it's important to understand who the Houthis are. The Houthis, their primary slogan is "Death to America, death to Israel, curse upon the Jews." They're a genocidal terrorist organization that is sponsored heavily by Iran, receiving approximately $100 million a year. And since approximately October 7th, 2023, they have attacked vessels with drones, at times kidnapping crews. They have devastated the global economy. 10 to 15% of all world trade goes through the Gulf of Aden, where the Houthis have been hijacking ships. Because of the Houthi activity in the Gulf of Aden, ships have had to sail around all of Africa, adding another 10 to 12 days of shipping journey that has caused global prices to increase. The revenues that have been lost at the Suez Canal have cost Egypt approximately $800 million a month, and it's cost the global economy about $175 billion in 2024. Unfortunately, in every war, civilians do die. It is a tragedy. Nations are judged based off how they apply the laws of warfare, which do not always guarantee that civilian lives will be protected, but what they do protect is that the proper intent is maintained when orchestrating attacks. The ships that the Houthis have been attacking, I would like to correct, are not really Israel-linked. What the Houthis are ultimately trying to do is disrupt the global economy to rally people around an anti-Israel cause and ultimately wreak havoc in a region where Yemen has yet to resolve itself in the first place to begin with. Yemen, the very country where the Houthis originated, and where the Houthis ultimately launched a civil war that claimed 400,000 people. The Houthis are in significant danger right now as the US has increased attacks on Yemen over the last month, attacking port cities, oil facilities. And the Houthis know that the United States and Yemeni factions are potentially thinking about ground operations that might be supported by the US and might be supported by the UAE. The Houthis understand that their days are numbered, and it wouldn't be surprising if they would be overinflating the casualty figures.
Jordan, what's the significance of the conversations that are happening between